Hey, Kristine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to get to have a AMA with you. First thing this year is like my first actual bit of content. So,
Yeah, I am very excited because if you've joined us in the past for these Ask Me Anything sessions, they've been on a different platform. So this feels very weird and different to me too. We're trying out StreamYard today. We'll see how it goes. It should be going live to YouTube. Carl is here in the comments. It's
it's
wine o'clock
wine
and Carl.
o'clock.
Carl,
Um,
I feel like it's always wine o'clock for you.
Carl, it's not even I mean, I know it's like mountain time, right? And it makes it noon. It makes it 12:02. Is that really 1 o'clock? I mean, I'm not judging, but
I mean, I could get on board with that.
it is a
If
Friday.
you're
There's
also
yeah.
yeah, oh boy. If you're also joining us here live, we would love for you to say hello in the comments. Um, it is Friday. Thank goodness. Thank
TGIF.
goodness it's Friday. So yeah, say hi in the comments. Let us know where you are in the world. So I am in Austin, Texas, and it's actually kind of chilly here today. This morning when I got up, it
Describe
was,
Austin chili though for us.
it was last week it was like 80, and today I think the high is 50. So yeah. Hey Joel, hey Sean, glad you're here.
I'm in Vancouver, Washington, and I think today is going to be like in the 40s or something, but it's really foggy, so it's very
Oh yeah,
stereotypically Pacific Northwest weather. So
yeah. Oh, hello, Barbara, Maya, Nancy.
Nancy's
Yeah,
in Virginia. I'm getting ready to head to Virginia. Where are you located, Nancy? Throw it in the chat. Cape Cod. That sounds fun.
it does sound fun. Well, thank you all for being here today. Like I said, this is the first time we have done one of these Ask Me Anythings live on YouTube. So I'm learning the StreamYard system. Kristine has been game to just hop on here and have some fun answering questions. So the way these typically work is you guys ask us questions and we answer as best we can. And we actually have a question to kick us off today. And it's a question from Aaron. I'm going to actually drop it in the chat. And then I think that there is a way. Oh, no, it doesn't. I have an error. I was thinking that I could show this on. Oh, yeah. Let me just delete these and figure out what's going on. Okay. So I'll just read Aaron's question. How about that? Creating a business as a solopreneur has so many decisions. The first that he ran into was, do I name this thing after myself or call it something else? Aaron said he went the latter route. And both of us, Kristine and I, as you can see by our domain names, we went the former. So he wanted to hear our reasoning for why we chose to use our names instead of something else, pros and cons, advice to others starting off, and if we would make the same decision if we were starting over.
Yes, this is a really good question,
It's a
actually.
great question because I
Yeah.
thought about this a lot because I'd been working in different capacities as a freelancer for years before 2018 when I like went all in on working for myself. So I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Did you, Kristine?
Well, so previously I owned and ran an agency, and so it had a name,
Mm-hmm.
because there were multiple of us, even though I was the owner and the creative director. And so when I made the switch then to just be a freelancer, using my name was kind of a no-brainer. But I mean, I do have a thought behind it, but I've done both. So I'm curious if you at one point were toying with any specific names. Do you have any that you want to share with us? Like, do you have
I,
any good creative ones or?
I mean, the part of the problem was I couldn't come up with a good one.
Yeah.
So when I started thinking about it, I went down the path of, yeah, it would be really cool to have a name that's not mine and my biggest thought around that was because it would be so much easier to sell it later. So
Oh,
I can't really sell ChristyPrice.com,
yes.
which, I don't want to, but it's not really an option. And
Yeah.
if it had been, Web Designers R Us, then it would be easier to sell that and the website traffic that I get and my blog and things like that.
Right.
So that was reason one for why I considered having a name. But then I thought about the folks that I knew that had agencies, and unless I knew them very well, I could never remember what their name was. Like I
Yeah.
would see the name of their agency and be like, "Oh, what's her
You're
name?"
like, did you mean John?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
John to me. Hey, Wayne.
Exactly. So, hey Wayne, hey Christy, glad you're here. Yeah, so for me, I decided that it was just a lot easier to just use my name, and people would recognize my name instead of having to put my name together with a business name. It just seemed easier all around. And also I didn't have to worry about trademarking anything. It just like it was the easy choice. So less friction. I went with that.
Yeah. I think you said a couple things that I think are really important. One is the like idea of, oh, I can sell this in the future. And I think that that's definitely something to think about if you're creating content around like maybe like a specific industry or niche or something. But ultimately for like a business that's personal, that, we're like the secret sauce at christyprice.com is Christy Price, And so even if it was
like it or not, yeah.
yeah, Squarespace designers are us.
Yeah.
You could sell that, sure, but like the reason why you built an audience is because people were attracted to you and the type of work that you do. And you could sell that domain, but it's going to then lose its luster, right? Because it's lost the captain of the ship. And I think that, I mean, for me, that's also one of the reasons why moving from agency to freelancer, I was like, my name is a no-brainer, because ultimately I learned after running an agency is that people wanted to work with me. And even if I said, oh no, I've got this very competent other person on my team, ultimately people would decide to work with me. And so it also allowed, then I thought, and it's actually panned out, the freedom for like, as my ideas about like what I want to do in my business have changed and shifted, they're still attached to me. So like, say I signed up to be like, I make Squarespace websites for dentists, whatever. And so I was like dentistwebsite.com. Well, what if later I decided I also wanted to make websites for like yoga teachers, know? Like now I've kind of pigeonholed myself, and ultimately, as my like ideas have changed, it doesn't matter. It's Kristine Neal,
Right.
So,
and if you decide you want to go and like become a consultant for new house builds in Virginia, then you can do that. And you're still Kristine Neal.
Exactly. So I think as like a personal, and that's, it's really just like kind of think like what's resonating with me right now. And I think with like a lot of people is that you're like, no, I really just want to do business with people, right? Like I want to do business with like Christy or Kristine or Wayne or Carl or anybody in the chat, like you're the,
hey, Wayne.
You're the person. So yeah, let's see what people are saying.
Yeah. So we have Nancy says she has her name for her corporate career portfolio, and she just started Jane & Co Design, which uses her middle name, different but connected. I love that.
It's still like personal though. Yeah, I like
that. Carl, if you can get the domain for your name, that's a plus. Yes, I did that long ago.
Yeah.
And when my daughter was born, I bought her domain. So
when I got married, even I think when I got engaged like 16 years ago, I was like, purchase domain. So I have domains with all sorts of names.
I'm a little bit of a domain collector.
I know you're a domain hoarder also.
Barbara uses her last name and her business name and positions herself as a micro agency versus a freelancer. So she partners with the designer and developer sometimes and do everything on a project the rest of the time. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And that way, but then still people are like, I'm doing business with Barbara, and company, right? Or like Jane or whatever. But I think that if you, had a business name that made sense, I think especially for like a local business, like you're like, I really intend to only do like local websites or whatever. And especially for SEO, this would be really good. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
for like Denver Squarespace website designer.com, like snatch that up. But
Yeah. But I
yeah.
also I do love like seeing the names people come up with, like Travis Coyote Moon. I think that's so cool. So
Yeah.
there's some really cool names out there, and I love the creativity that goes into it. I
Yeah.
just didn't have that in me when I
You know
was
what?
getting this started. I'm like,
Same.
I cannot do one more thing.
It really boiled down to a lack of creativity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Or
yeah.
laziness.
Lazy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But sure, it was also strategic. Strategic
Absolutely.
laziness.
Absolutely. We've got some other great questions on different topics in the chat. So I'm just going to start sharing them and we'll go through. So Frederick asks, what do you think? Is Squarespace Analytics reliable, or would you rather count on Google Analytics? It depends on whether you're using the cookie banner and what you have disabled or enabled.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it also depends on like how, I don't know, how tied into like specific granularity, like how granular do you need things to be? I don't really look at numbers. I just look at trend lines. So like to me, I'm okay if things are like a little off, because at least they're all a little off relative to last month. And all I need to know is like up or down, like
I
are we
like that.
moving generally in the right direction? But I'm not an obsessive compulsive metrics tracker. It's just not who I am. So, but that's me. It might not be Frederick.
So I think that Squarespace Analytics, when you turn on the cookie banner and you put the settings the way they tell you to, once you have the banner on, it's a little weird because it counts every visit to your site or every page click as a new site visitor. So it's really skewed and weird. And so I get very confused by that. And I actually, since Google Analytics updated to this GA4 stuff, it hurts my brain to go in there and look at it. So I use Plausible, which is a paid thing. And I'm wrapping up my Plausible subscription next month, because this year I'm like, good grief, everything has gotten so expensive. We're getting rid of Crowdcast, we're getting rid of Plausible, we're getting rid of so many things. So that was on the chopping block, but I've enjoyed it. So, if you are looking for something like that, Plausible's nice. I also use the analytics inside Google Search Console, which are so much easier to understand for me than Google Analytics, because kind of like Kristine, I don't go very granular, but if I do, then in Google Search Console, I can really see what's going on. So an example of that is my blog traffic really started declining midway through last year. And I had this moment of just like, what is happening? And after some investigation in Google Search Console, what I realized there were maybe 3 main blog posts that were driving a ton of traffic to my website. And what had happened is Google had started putting them in that little AI answer box at the top, and people didn't need to click to my website to get the answer anymore. So I was able to figure all that out in Google Search Console without going to Google Analytics. And shout out to Mariah Magazine, who helps me with that. Yeah. She's a great SEO expert. So follow her she has a really great workshop for Squarespace SEO and just really good YouTube content on SEO in general too. So that was a very long answer.
That was so helpful. I think that also, I don't know why I'm like really into local business lately. That your Google My Business will also send you like, you had this many people click or call or whatever.
Yeah.
And I also think that ultimately the analytic and the metric that we're all tracking, right, is sales, right? And you don't need a panel to like be able to know if you have money in your bank, right? Are people choosing to buy from you? Are they choosing to do business with you? And I guess you can use your analytics to try to like figure out why, how could you appeal to them better? But to me, that's kind of like that's the one metric that really matters, because you can have a lot of traffic and not a lot of sales, and you're tracking the wrong thing if you're only concerned about the clicks, right? Because we have to get them to take action. So
yeah, that's a really good point. And I think there was, I'm trying to remember an example for this, but if I for example, only work with plumbers and I'm ranking for Squarespace web designer, that's a lot of people visiting my site that are not plumbers who need a
Right.
website, and I'm not the right fit for them. So that's a
Right.
really good point, Kristine, that's only a small part of the picture.
Right.
Hey, Risha, glad you're
Hey,
here.
it's a party.
All right. Are you ready for the next one?
I think so.
Okay. This one's from Maya. This year, I'd like to shift into more education and cross collaboration with other experts in the field. What advice or tips do you have for what types of content to generate, how and where best to collaborate with other creatives, etc.? Well,
Yeah.
Kristine, we're doing this right now.
I know, this is the best thing. I think this is so smart. I think it's where like the secret sauce really is. So much of my business comes from referrals from other Squarespace web designers. Referrals from past clients are great also, but it's so nice when another Squarespace web designer kind of gave you the stamp of approval first, you know? And then you also have a partner that you can kind of pass things back to. The great thing about the Squarespace community is that everyone is, I think, so generous and like really willing to kind of be like, this is the best fit for me. And if I see a lead that like is not my fit, I give that away freely, and the Squarespace communities are really good at that. So thinking about content to generate, like, and how to collaborate specifically, what comes to mind immediately for you, Christy? What's your like?
So I was actually thinking about Diane Whidden of Sway Rise Creative, who's doing a really good job of this. So just last year, she launched a YouTube channel and she started inviting people on to talk about their businesses. And she invited me. I'm like, yes, I'll come talk.
Yeah.
So I think she's still building up her subscriber base, but just being able to have a conversation with people. So hers is YouTube Live, just like this, except I think she pays for StreamYard, so we don't have the little duck logo in the top.
Leave the duck.
Yeah. But I think that the way she went about it was creating a channel first and then inviting people in rather than I get so many requests from people, and I wish that I could say yes to them all who are like, can I guest post on your blog? Can I come talk to, can I, and I can't do that because like I have very limited time. And like Kristine, I know, and we can hop on this with very little prep. And I know that she's going to provide amazing answers. And so I think that, if you're getting started with that content creation, start your blog, start your podcast, start your YouTube channel, whatever feels easy to you, and start inviting people in. And that's when those reverse collaborations will happen as well. So, I mean, for example, folks that have been on my podcast, I've been on theirs. And so there's a lot of give and take there, I think. So my advice would be to pick what feels really good to you in terms of what feels sustainable. Some people like writing, so it's blog posts. And I used to have like a creator spotlight on my blog where I would invite people in to guest post. And I had to stop that because it got crazy with requests all the time. So I no longer have that. Yeah. But it was fun. I really love YouTube Lives. I love the podcast idea. So whatever feels like to you that it's something that you would look forward to doing, something that's fun for you, I would start there and just invite people on because people love talking about themselves and their businesses.
Yeah. So to me, there's a couple underrated forums, and Christy knows my favorite one is Slack, which I'm in a handful of Slack groups, and people I feel like are having more authentic conversations than they would on social media because it feels kind of like a protected space. But just showing up there and like being helpful and answering questions. I know a lot of people do that on like say Facebook or in some of like the different Facebook groups. I think as we all start to move away from that, we're looking for like other ways to build community. And I've found that like that's actually time very well spent versus time on social media where there's also like lots of other things to distract you, you know? So like if people ask a question and I have a good answer or a link or an experience to share, then I also know that like I can go there if I have my own things. And that has just naturally led to a lot of collaborations. And then Maya mentions them, like just Squarespace Circle. I think attending Circle Day is huge.
Yeah.
So we don't yet know when the 2025 dates are, but I think that showing up for events like that, or if there's any like meetups that like you see happen in your area, even if they're not like official Squarespace sanctioned things, or, maybe there's another like tool you use, like Christy, I know you went to one for
HoneyBook.
HoneyBook, yes. And like
great.
so just kind of like getting into like a little community of like focused like professionals like yourself, but like just showing up. It doesn't even matter like if it's, like I said, an official sanctioned event, because so much of the magic happens in the conversations while you're waiting in line to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or, like the let's grab a drinks or the whatever. And I think that those in-person meetings, when they can happen, also lead to like some really strong collaboration opportunities.
I think that is wonderful advice. And I would just add that if you don't see any of those like local events, Maya, in Arizona, just make one and then reach out to Squarespace Circle and say, hey, I'm doing a Squarespacers meetup on this day at this time. And they'll put it in the newsletter and you'll get people to show up and you'll meet them.
Yeah.
The other thing that comes to mind too is with Squarespace Circle, 100% agree with Kristine on if you can go to Circle Day in New York, it just feels magical to see people in person that you only see online the rest of the year. So I love that idea. And I also think that the Squarespace Circle forum would be a great place to post and say, hey, I'm looking to collaborate with other creatives. Who's in?
Yeah.
And see what responses you get there too.
Yeah. I think that it really does come back to, we have such a generous community. And if you are willing to be just a little bit vulnerable and put yourself out there, I think you'll be surprised at what you get back. So.
This is such a great question, Maya, because I think Kristine and I are doing both these things ourselves.
Yes, we are. So Maya says, do you think it's possible to cater to both other web designers and clients as far as educational content, or more strategic to niche? All of the above. Do both.
I think, whatever you enjoy and whatever people are asking for. So I was telling Kristine, I didn't really tap into the designers that were following me until really 2023 was kind of the first time I'm like, I should make a digital product. And so I came up with this client process checklist. And last year I released the starter template for Squarespace designers. And it has been such a joy to see how those have resonated with people and been helpful, and so encouraging that I'm actually working on a course now, like a big course for how to run projects as a Squarespace designer. So
your people were telling you what they wanted.
Yeah. I just needed to listen. And so I think, was it Omari we were talking to? And he was like, if you hear the same thing 3 times, that's your sign you need to do it.
That sounds like something Omari would say. So I feel like, yes, that sounds like very sage advice. But like Maya, if you have questions coming from like both, niches, I guess,
Thanks, Maya.
go for it.
I think so too. Yeah. I think because I think Squarespace is your niche. And so it doesn't have to be for one particular audience at the moment. And you may decide later that you want to hone in on one, but I think there's no reason not to create. I mean, I was creating stuff for DIYers and other designers were finding it helpful. So I think there's so much overlap. Yes. And also, Nancy, thanks so much for getting the template. I hope that you are enjoying
Nancy,
it.
I also have the starter template. Used it just the other day.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Take the head start. So yes, shout out for the starter.
We've got one other question in the chat now. So if you are here and you have questions, drop them in. Oh, Nancy, thank you. Nancy said in the chat, my videos are clear and easy to implement. Thank you. I appreciate that. So if you have other questions for us, drop them in. We've got about half an hour carved out from here to
You don't
to
want,
hang out.
we're going to be here anyways.
Yeah. I mean, you can listen
chit-chat.
to us talk about what's for dinner. No, I'm just kidding. We'll
Oh,
talk about
I know.
something
We can
relevant,
get
but
to that. Yeah.
all
Okay.
right. Next question. What is the most effective route to get technical help from Squarespace? This is a great question.
It is.
And
Thank you for asking it.
yeah. So Christy, are you a Circle member? And Carl says pizza for dinner. That sounds really good.
It does sound good. I had pizza the other day, though.
Yeah. So if Christy is still here, I think that there's a difference. So if you are a Circle member, you get an email that you can email. Okay. So Christy, once you have 3 paid sites, and let me just drop in the link to apply.
Yeah, it's just, is it like Circle?
Is it Circle, squarespace.com/circle?
I think so. But so, yeah, if you are a Circle member, but if that's a direction you're headed, Christy, there you go. You get a little email that you can send messages to.
Yeah.
I have it saved. Mm-hmm. I send emails to it often. I find that it's the fastest and the least runaround because they will assume that you are at least somewhat competent.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot better. They used to ask like really basic questions.
Have you tried turning it off and on again? Have you tried? Yeah, it's just, yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm a pro at this. Can we skip that? So it's 1,000 times better than it used to be. It's still frustrating a lot of days. Like that's just the honest answer. Mm-hmm. If you're not a Circle member, what should people do? Contact a Circle member?
Yeah.
Email a friend.
I've had a mixed bag with the chat. So there is the chat. Sometimes it's down. Sometimes it works and you get somebody and you're like, I believe I know more about this product than you do, which is disappointing.
Answers.
Yeah. So I agree with Kristine that the email is really the most effective route. And Christy, if you are a contributor on 3 paid sites, you can go ahead and just join Circle. If you're not a contributor on 3 paid sites, try the chat and have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
Lots of patience.
I think that's really, it comes back again to like the community of people. So like where else can you tap in? Because I guarantee there are experts out there like myself, or like Christy, or like any of the, other
Wayne, Carl,
exactly, who have made YouTube videos who answer it, your question, or who have written blog posts, or who are willing to help if you, engage with their content. If you've purchased any of their goods and shoot them an email, they're probably likely to respond back and help you out, if you're in any of those like Slack groups or any of the like Facebook groups or whatever, people tend to be really generous. And so not to say that like you won't get an answer from Squarespace, but you'll probably not get the answer that you're going to get the answer, like the political answer from them. And like a real person is going to give you like the real truth of it, like, sure, that's how you should do this, but you really shouldn't do it,
Yeah. I also do think that there are like, sometimes there are technical things that I just can't help with. So people will reach out and I'd be like, you have to go to support for that. So,
like a billing question.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you got to do it, but.
Or if I think somebody's having trouble with something on my starter template and it was isolated to one browser for them. And I'm like, well, it's your browser. I'm sorry. It doesn't do it on my browser, but yeah. So, and trying to get to the bottom of those like technical things is often pretty tricky. So sometimes the chat is the best place for that. Yeah. Okay.
It might be frustrating, but you can do it.
You can do it.
Barbara's
yeah. Do you want to read it? I'm going to drink some water.
Barbara says, how seriously are you taking website policies? I learned a lot working with a Squarespace e-commerce client who didn't want policies. What I learned has motivated me to make them mandatory. I like making them mandatory, or else have a waiver of your own that says, like, I have opted out. just to kind of like cover your own ass. It's unfortunately the world we live in. I know that Christy and I both use Termageddon and really love them.
Love them. Yeah.
They make it so easy for clients to onboard. They'll either help them themselves, or you can, sign them up under your own portal and work on that. So, I mean, unfortunately, I take them very seriously, not because I feel like anybody reads any of it, but it's just the day and age of like, it's kind of a have to have. It's a non-negotiable. I wouldn't not put them on there just because a client said they didn't feel like it. That's my take.
So I have a spiel in my website content guide where I get all the content from clients, and I have a section called legal, and I say, look, I am not an attorney, and it is on you to provide the correct information for your business. I do know that a privacy policy is required in the US by the FTC, and I recommend Termageddon, but there are other free generators out there if you don't want to use them. But again, I'm not an attorney, and these are legal documents. Yep. So that's kind of the tact I take. I won't launch a website without at least a privacy policy, though.
Yeah. So, Robert, you're so right. To just be like, they're mandatory. That's it. And it's not a conversation. If they'd like to have a conversation with their lawyer about it, they can feel free. Mm-hmm. And then I just wouldn't spend much time on it, because to me, it's just another piece of like another box you just have to check. It's just what it is.
And Kristine, you mentioned Termageddon, which I love. And I have a discount code for it. It's an affiliate discount code that I put in the chat. But one of the things that I love most about Termageddon is those policies have a lot of questions that are very confusing. And Termageddon will very nicely onboard your clients to the system, because my clients will be like, how do I answer this? And I'm like, I have no idea what your revenue in California is. Yeah. So you can hand them off to Hans or Donata, and they will take care of it for you. It's a really, really lovely team.
It is. They are. I cannot even count how many times I've CC'd Donata on an email just saying like, I'd like to introduce you to my client. And the team here are the data privacy experts. It's not me. And they take it from there. No complaints ever.
So. Yeah. And Donata's an attorney, so she knows what's up.
Yeah. And Hans the web guy. And they made this beautiful baby called Termageddon.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Love it.
Great question.
All right. Ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay. Sean says, I'm in the process of redesigning my site, and there seem to be quite a few gotchas within Squarespace. Oh, Sean, if you're still here, I would love to hear what examples.
Yeah, I want to know which gotchas are tripping you up specifically.
Do you have any tips or tricks? Are there things to avoid or do with a fresh redesign? So it really depends on if you are redesigning on your live site, or if you've started another trial and are building a new site there and then moving your domain over. So I could answer either of those ways.
I kind of do want to know what the gotchas are. If anybody else has any ideas of gotchas, things they've like struggled with, throw those in the chat also. But can't
copy portfolio pages, for example.
Wow. Portfolio is its own special little.
It's a special little thing. I mean, when they rolled it out, we had such high hopes for it, and then it just got neglected.
It's lost, been abandoned. Sean, just use a blog.
But you can't style the posts like you can on those beautiful portfolio pages.
No,
so Sean, you can duplicate the projects within the portfolio. So
that's true.
So that speeds things up a little bit. You just have to like scroll way down to find the duplicate project thing. Portfolios I love because you get to design this full page width thing that you can't do on a blog. And you get to use Fluid Engine, which I love. But the drawback is that if you went with a blog, you could use categories and tags and summary blocks and all these great things that we have for blogs. So it's really there. I typically use portfolios for home builders, for interior designers, things like that.
Yeah.
And for everybody else.
We throw that in the chat also. What's your industry?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Even for my portfolio, I use a blog because it's searchable, it has categories, that sort of thing. But yeah.
What
I
are
was
other
thinking,
things that come to mind though when you're like redesigning a site? You said that you had a different take, whether you were starting from scratch or whether it was like
yeah.
something you were like duplicating, or is
Hmm.
it your live site versus not? Like, where did your brain immediately go on that? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
my brain went to just, so I like a clean slate, and I would like nothing better than to like start on a new blank, actually using my starter template, start on start on a new site and build it out. But then I lose all of the behind the scenes things that were on my original site. So all the analytics are gone through there. They'll still be in Google Search Console, which we talked about earlier, but um, any of any purchases that were made, that information's gone. And I always know that things will fall through the cracks with a site that is as massive as mine because it's been around for so long and I just keep adding to it. But it would be so nice to just start anew and start fresh.
I always think I mean, aside from like the data side of things, like
Mhm.
analytics and purchase history, like if
Mhm.
we're ignoring that and we're just focusing on the rest, I always
Yeah.
think of starting a new site like blank slate as kind of like, you know, when you get a new credit card, and so like all of the random crap that you've subscribed to over the years
Mhm.
comes up as like, oops, your credit card, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, thanks for the reminder to cancel you.
Yeah.
I kind of think of starting a clean website in the exact same way is it's almost a chance to like let go of all the strange little artifacts that you've inherited of like
Yeah.
the mini micro redesigns that you've done over
Mhm.
the years, like all the
Mhm.
random bits of CSS that like apply to blocks you
Oh,
don't even have
so much.
anymore.
Yeah.
And like, you know, are there pages that are just cluttering things up? Are there images we can delete that are slowing the site down? Like where else can we just like blank slate it? And so I love a blank slate for the same reason.
Oh, Sean's a
Sean says
3D
he's
artist.
yeah.
So he
So I
likes
can
the
see why
portfolio
you like
pages.
portfolio. Sorry for my
Yeah.
answer to say to use a blog. Um,
Yeah.
things
I
to
mean, I
avoid.
find that I wonder how many portfolios you're using because
Oh, like
do
how
you have
many?
multiple? Because I you can't move like can you move one portfolio project from one portfolio to another like you can a blog post? I don't know.
Never tried it.
I've never tried it either.
I try not to dabble in portfolios because they are limited and I do like all the things, you know. So
230 pages. I feel that, Joel.
my site is old school. Now, if your site is from 2001 and it is old school, is your site on WordPress? Be honest, Joel. Because my bet. Oh,
Net Object Fusion. I used to code in Cold Fusion. I wonder if that is related at all.
respect.
That
Um,
is that
I,
is phenomenal that it's still rocking.
no
I can
time like
imagine
2025 to
I wonder
get
what it looks
that
like
out
on
of
a
me.
phone. Yeah.
Oh no, no phone.
Yeah.
Um,
Sean, 3 portfolio pages on your new design. Yeah, so you would have to set up each portfolio page itself individually because you can't, but I think the projects you can duplicate. And like, I have this nagging memory that perhaps you could duplicate a portfolio project and then move it to another portfolio. I don't know if that's the case, but I feel like it might be. So maybe check that out.
I think in general, a tip that I like picked up from another Squarespace friend somewhere a few years back that it had just never occurred to me. I don't know why. Was starting each, and your starter template is a great, a concept of this. But if you wanted to kind of do your own thing, create yourself a style guide page on the back
Mm-hmm.
end of every new site. So if you don't have Christy's starter template, um, you could, because I think that it's easy to kind of just like jump in
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of start styling piecemeal, and it's a lot easier to create a page that just has like all the things and you can style them once and then just move on with it. And I think that that's like that really helped me when I first kind of started like
Mm-hmm.
thinking of that, because it hadn't occurred to me, and another Squarespacer said it and I was like, oh god, that's so smart, you know. And you can see right away like where like, what do the color themes mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and what do I need to like change once and never have to tool with again. And,
Yeah.
you know,
That's why I love the style guide, because you just see at a glance, like, this is a terrible idea or this is going to work together quite beautifully.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're working from a client's like brand style guide, it's a lot easier to kind of set those things at the beginning and then share that with them, even share this is the web version of your brand style guide, because then once they've signed off on that, from moving forward, we're just focused on content. Really, we're out of that whole like, yeah, but on that page, could you change that one button to whatever? And it's like, no, we've already taken care of buttons.
Yeah.
That was step one.
They're done. Check.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And Barbara says redesigning a site is so much better if you're a Circle member and can have the extended trial. Totally agree. The 6 months is awesome. If you're not a Circle member,
taken 6 months though, let's be honest.
but if you're not a Circle member and you need more than the 2 weeks, if you just send a message to customer support, they will extend it for you for as long as you need another 2 weeks. So like you could do probably a year of 2 weeks of trials.
Right. I mean, it's going to require some handholding. My only argument to this though is that a project should not take that long to launch. By the time, like if you are still building something 6 or 12 months later, or whatever it is, I firmly believe, and things change so fast that you're already behind your next redesign. And I think that's the beauty of Squarespace, is really kind of launch quickly and iterate as you go. And we're never going to get to a place of like perfect. And so if you're needing to take 6 months to get it to perfect, you've wasted, to me, at least 4 to 5 months of getting feedback from customers, seeing the analytics, like we were talking about, like seeing how people interact with things, making a few sales, even if it's not, you know, it's better than nothing, right? So to me, there's real benefit to just not being afraid to put it out there as quickly as possible. And it's what I push my clients to do as well. I'm like, we're going to just start selling this stuff and we'll iterate in a phase 2, a phase 3, a phase 4. Like this is a long game.
Yeah. Allie in the chat just dropped something that's very handy that I'm going to delete, because we can't let Squarespace know that we know this. So if you came live, grab that info, and then I'm going to delete it, because my worry is that they'll take it away from us if we spread it around. So look in the chat for Allie's comment. Thanks, Allie.
Everyone just do this. We all.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah. No, that's okay, Allie. I'm glad you shared it. But like I said, I think that I'm going to keep that kind of quiet.
That's a secret.
It's a secret.
Joel says, well, your old site's from 2001. So I feel like I understand a lot about who you are as a person based on that. At this rate, a lot of content, my new site will also be on. Were you going to kill off the old site first? Yeah. Got a lot of questions.
I'm just excited that Joel is working on a new site, because I think there's so much inertia when you've had a site for that long. It can be really hard to start a new site. So congrats, Joel. I'm excited for you.
There's been a lot of times over the past 24 years that you thought about it.
Oh, my word. 2001 was 24 years ago.
No, let's move on from that.
Okay. I can't. Yeah, that math is.
It's not good.
It's
24 years is clearly like 19.
My husband and I were talking about 1970 the other day, and I was like, how long ago do you think that was? And he was like, I don't know, like 30 years. And I was like, yeah. 50 plus. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
I wish you the best, Joel.
I'm excited to see your new site, Joel, and Sean. I would love to see it. Come back and leave a comment later when you guys have launched your sites, so people can check them out. We would love to see it. Sean, I'm really curious about the I
love that, Joel. Joel's got the if it ain't broke, don't fix it
portfolio projects. I love that too. I mean, like, why spend time on it if it's still moving your business forward? Exactly. You've got other things you can do. So
I actually had a past client who they're still on 7.0, And they emailed me actually just the other day, because we make a few little tweaks every year, just like update a few small things. And they said, like, should I be on this latest version of Squarespace? And I said, honestly, no. Like, your site is working really well for you. There's no advantage for like this particular site, just, because of what they do. There's no advantage. You're not gaining anything. You're all kind of locked in and tidy, and we'll keep giving it a little love. And when it truly feels like it needs it, I will tell you. But if you're doing fine and it's serving your business, ultimately, if it's serving your business,
and Joel says Google likes him,
then I think that that's ultimately what matters. I mean, there's some like real ugly sites out there for like really big names. And if people want to buy from your brand, if they like are really compelled by your story or your, what you have going on, they won't care. They will find a way. So
one of my favorite restaurants in Austin has a site that's probably older than yours, Joel, and it's not mobile responsive. Like when I try to like go and look at the menu on my phone, I'm like, making everything bigger and trying to rotate my phone. And I mean, like, they're like, we're doing great. Why bother? So I get it. I totally get it. And I still go and eat there all the time.
All the time, probably. Nancy's got like a burning question that I feel like is like the question of every web designer's like they're like the existential dread involved in getting information from clients. And Christy, I know you have a great process. So
a couple of different processes depending on the project. So I'm going to kind of take copy and images separately. So images are tough because I find that people either have no good images or they have 500 great images from a photo shoot. And so what I've done is I offer to source stock photos for clients that don't have good images. Or if they want to do it, I walk them through how to make them look good together. Like you're looking for the same lighting, the same colors, the same feel. If they are one of those with the 500 images, I'll say, I don't need more than 30 to build your site. Give me your favorite 30 and I will use those. And then they're like, well, what about for this orientation? And I'm like, doesn't matter. If I need a different one, I'll ask you. But I make them whittle it down. Otherwise, you get this Dropbox full of 500 images and it's like, oh my word. And then you use one and they're like, oh, my hair was doing this thing in that photo. And you're just like, then why did you give me that photo? So that's what I do for the images. For content, I have a couple of different methods depending on the client and the project. So for my custom builds, I put together a Google Doc. And there's a lot to it, but just kind of to take like maybe the homepage. What I'll do is either framework out the website in Squarespace. So I have kind of an idea of how I'm going to lay it out, what information I need. And I'll give that to them with placeholder copy and just gray spots where the images go. So it's basically like a floor plan. It's a wireframe. And they can see what text goes where and how long it needs to be. And then I ask for that from them. Now, do they always do that? No. But it's really helpful in terms of getting the right copy. And I'm also very careful to tell them that that's not the final design. It can change, but it gives them a visual idea. Because otherwise, I would get paragraphs of text from people. And you have to be very careful, to explain to clients, and this, Nancy, you have to say people aren't reading, they're skimming, and we need to use headings and subheadings, and we need to use bullet points, and we need to use call to actions. And so there's a lot of education that goes into that as well. And I wonder, you give them a best practices PDF. I wonder if you did a little video for them on a website that you've done before and say, this website does content really well, and here's how. So maybe break it down like that. It's like, this is their heading, and you can see how they've used text hierarchy to guide the eye down the page and you don't get lost in big paragraphs, and look how they use these bullet points. So I think that maybe something like that would be helpful just on that initial education, because PDFs, I mean, my clients don't read things I send them, but they'll watch a video. And Nancy, the clients don't understand file size, resolution, etc. Yes. So I actually do all of the optimization for the images. I ask for them to just give me high resolution images, and then I resize and do all the optimization for them, because I'm kind of a stickler and really particular about it. So I'm happy to just include that in the project.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned the other way that I get content from clients. So I use an app called Content Snare, and that is for, I also do template build out. So they get to see exactly what the website looks like. And I just put, what do you want where it says this? What do you want where it says this? And I can, in Content Snare, I can like truncate things once it gets to a certain length
Like,
and keep them on track.
Not that many words.
Okay, Nancy says that she's doing that and it takes so long. Nancy, is that the image optimization? I do it in bulk so I resize it in bulk. I'm on a Mac, so I resize everything in bulk in preview. I do one for landscape and one for horizontal, so all that's done. And then I pop it into a tiny PNG and run it through that. So it's really, I mean, maybe 10 minutes total for those 30 images. And that's on the long side with renaming all the images. So I'm not spending a whole lot of time on it. I'd be happy to do a video on how I do that if that would be helpful. And I've got a code for Content Snare too, like a discount code. Let me find that.
Yeah. I think the
Christine.
other thing is really just like, how is your process like? Are you requiring all your clients to get this to you before you start your project? Or are you starting your project and then we're starting to gather materials? And I think that is another thing that's either going to set you up for success on this or not. So, and it depends. If you are doing that work, also make sure you're getting paid for that work, because if you are not being paid as a copywriter, then your job is not to be a copywriter. And they can certainly hire a copywriter to do that, and you can make that a prerequisite to working with you. And so there's a lot of, it's very easy in our industry to say, well, I can do that, I will do that, and to let that scope creep kind of come in on things. And so I think just being really firm on, this is the process, these are the timelines or the deadlines, this is what we're going to do, and really just setting the expectations and saying, well, our project is set to start February 1st. I need all of your content by January 25th so that I can review it ahead of our project. That's how we're going to get set up for success, and I can dive right in building your site. Because if you don't send me things until February 5th, I now have 5 less days to work on your site for you. And when clients really start to think of like, I'm hiring you and paying for your time, and that you are a professional that has set expectations for them to meet, and that they're a partner in your project, I think that you'll start to see some more success and less friction. So, and the other caveat I always say is that sometimes clients just don't have good images, and they're just not going to they're never going to procure them. And you put forth the best Unsplash photo you can find, and this is just a site that does not go in your portfolio.
Yeah.
And you just get it launched and move on. That's the other option.
Yeah, and I think that is really great advice, Kristine, because not every website that you create is going to be worthy of your portfolio.
Exactly. I had someone recently, I was doing kind of a coffee chat with someone, and they were like, I bet you just have an amazing portfolio. And I was like, no, there's a lot of crap in there. I mean, there really is. I mean, you've been doing web design for long enough, and like, look, every client project's not going to be a winner, but they kept the lights on. Ultimately, it's just, they're not all amazing sometimes. But you know what? If they were good for that person's business, then to me, that's the bar of success. And also the other kind of thing I always kind of tell myself is that if they're a bad business person, it's not on me. to like coach. I'm not a business coach. So the best I can do is do my job that I was hired to do really well. And if they make bad business decisions, ultimately that's their like lot, and they have made that bed. They need to lie in it. You just need to bless and release.
Yeah. So Nancy also said before my project, but as I go in and review, I'm seeing assets and copy missing. People are such procrastinators. So I have a rescheduling fee. So I have it in my contract. If that's not provided to me 1 week before the project build starts. So it gives me a week buffer to be like a nice person and be like, I can only give you 7 more days. After that, I got to charge you that rescheduling fee. So I require that it's done, or they pay more and then they get moved later on my calendar.
And here's the thing,
alternatively,
have you ever, I've never really had to like super enforce that, because people see that and that's all the motivation they need.
They'll knock it out in a couple of days. The other thing alternatively that you could do that I've done in the past, depending on the project, is if it's somebody that is just not being responsive, what you can say is, alternatively, I'm going to just go ahead and build out your site with the information that I have. I'm going to use words that I am using from ChatGPT or Claude, and Rachel's
AI or
Rachel's Copy Spark. I'll drop a link in the comments for that too. And just build it out and be like, here you go. You can change out the parts you don't like. So I think those are 2 ways to handle it. I don't know that there's never a perfect client, right? And we're not perfect people either. So there's always something. I love
what Barbara says in a comment. She says, I optimize the copy for the client, and the way I charge for it is by calling it optimized text for on-page SEO. And I think this is great because, again, it's like an add-on that people can choose to pay for. And now at least they're paying for your service, because if they've not paid you to write copy, if they've not paid you to be an image editor, a photographer, of any of those things, then that's just really work you shouldn't be doing, because those are all valuable. That's valuable creative output that needs to be paid for, and we shouldn't give that away for free. So I love that Barbara found a way to like maybe make an add-on and be like, I'd love to do that for you. This is the cost.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. Nancy asked, you use that week to review all the assets, the week between when the copy's due and when I start the build? Yes. And actually what I do is I will start pre-building the site that week, because I can't really tell what I'm missing until it's on the website. So I just don't tell them that part's done. I'll just show them each piece at a time. But I know
you got that first draft done so quickly, and you're like,
so fast.
Just so inspired by your work.
Use that week to review all the assets to start the design. For me, I like to go ahead and get it started. And I will tell you 7 times out of 10, not everything is there, and I'm giving them a few extra days. So that buffer week is really important to the way my projects run, because I have my build dates so specifically on my calendar, because I'm only taking on 1 build at a time. So having that buffer to give them a few days grace without charging them the rescheduling fee makes them really happy. I'm happy because I get most, if not all of the content from them. So yeah.
And there's a way to be, gracious about some of it also. I mean, obviously if people, other people have busy lives and are humans also. So if someone said like, oh, my kid was sick, whatever.
That's life.
That's life. And,
we can work with it. Yeah.
Get through it. Right. Or it's easy to say, well, could we just get homepage copy and we'll work on that? And could we have these others a week later? Would that give you enough time? Just think of it as like being like the really cool college professor who was like, no worries. Like, we'll get, you can have a short extension on that. Like, I'm not going to fail you straight away. So,
very thankful for that.
Like, good rapport with your client. That, like, you are actually just interested in like their success and them as like a human. I think is also just like a really good thing. So, like, oh my God, you're so, like gracious on that. Thank you.
Yeah. And they're going to appreciate you and refer you to other people because they had a good experience. So that's always in the back of my mind too. It's like, how can I make sure this is a good experience for my client so that they will refer me to other clients?
But I do think ultimately clients like toddlers, like boundaries.
Yes.
like to be told, I don't know what it is, but they like to be told, like, this is the timeline, this is what's happening, because I think that it instills like a sense of confidence that like you're a professional who has
You've got this. You have a process.
Right.
They just need to follow the process and you're going to
Right.
get a great website. Yeah.
Right. Like you wouldn't show up at the dentist and they'd be like, are you going to use the other tool? Or you would like, you just lay back and they do your thing, you know, because you know that like this is a professional with a process and the training and the skills to get that done. You've hired them. You're going to pay them a lot of money to do their thing. And if you walked in and the dentist was like, yeah, so teeth cleaning today. I mean, like you would be so icked out. I mean, I would, you don't be that dentist.
And I don't think you are. I mean, Nancy's already got a PDF that she's giving them. She's trying.
Oh,
it's hard to wrangle clients. Yeah, it is hard to wrangle clients.
It's like trying to make a recipe, running out to the store as you're cooking. Yes, Nancy. Exactly. I love analogies.
What web pages that suck. Yeah, don't do that, right?
Yeah.
And yes, running out to the store as you're cooking. I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Well, Kristine,
have it all set in place.
An hour has gone by. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everyone who showed up live to join us. Thank you for your questions. This was so much fun.
It was fun. I hope it was helpful. Like sometimes it's nice to just know that like other people exist out there and like have similar questions. Like, yeah, that's just always reassuring to me. So
I think we got amazing questions and this was a lot of fun.
Okay, so
Allie gave away the secret sauce if you were here earlier, which I loved.
We're looking for the site redesigns in the comments, guys, for later.
Yes. If you're working on a site, please come back and drop your site, your domain.
Everyone bookmark this, come back and like their sites are going to be amazing. We know it.
Yep. All those portfolios. Can't wait to see them, Sean. Joel, mobile responsive. Yay.
Welcome to the 2025.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.